Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang this morning. Guru Shri Moji Ji ki Jai. Just in a few minutes. Just want to share something. The most natural way you are already aware of your existence. That is undeniable, even though the mind might try to deny it all that it likes. You are aware that you exist. The beautiful thing is that which is aware, that you, that is aware of even your existence, is independent even of existence, is beyond even existence. That's why Guruji said, before I am. So this awareness is what you are discovering. I am is recognizing its own source. And all the pointers of Satsang, all the clues are pointing to this, that which is not change, that to which birth and death do not apply. That which is the primal witness of all things, including your own existence. This is the unchanging, irrespective of what state there might be. Whether it is waking state, sleep state, dream state, whatever they might be, there must be an awareness of that, which is prior to that. Now, since we are here, then this must be the waking state, or we can call it that. So now one thing is unavoidable, which is the presence of existence. I am. Isn't it? that you exist. That's why I asked you the question, can you stop being? You just are. Effortlessly, your existence is here. Even the appearance of the sense that I exist, nothing changed for that reality, which is beyond I am, before I am. That continues to be your fundamental reality. But now this fundamental reality itself has this sense that I exist, I am. You see? Now, if it stopped at that, there could never be something that we call suffering. Just if the sense came, I am. But you do not have the option to fill in the blank after I am dash. How does this blank get filled up? And you have to notice this about yourself now. Empty of a conceptual construct, a thought. You cannot fill in this blank. I just am. Everyone is with me so far? I just am. So first there needs to be a thought construct that has to arise. And in this play, everything, all energetic constructs that you can fathom do arise, can be experienced. So one of them is this thought construct. So the nature of this thought construct is to try and fill in this blank. I am, make I am into I am something. Not in actuality, but in the pretense, in the mask. So when we say remain open, when we say don't take a position, don't give yourself a reference point, basically what we are saying is that don't fill in this blank with anything at all. First, you can check that consciousness has given to itself this ability to pose as if it is something, to fill in this blank with something on the basis of the power of belief. And if satsang is a rehab for something, satsang is a de-addiction center. It is just a de-addiction center from attaching something to I am. This is in fact the basis of not just satsang like this, but all spirituality. So whether we say surrender everything, so what happens when we say surrender? It means all the somethings that are there, they're no longer the problem of I am. Because any something that you pick up Along with that, you pick up a limited notion, a limited idea about yourself. So surrender means leave that blank empty by offering it at the feet of God, at the feet of the Sadguru. An inquiry means that when the offer for something is coming from the mind, we inquire and say, what witnesses even this thought? Who am I who could be something? And in inside, we find that no such limited I ever existed. So this is the simplicity of what is being pointed to. Of course, if there are some who are caught in the midst of the heat of the addiction, then it can feel like it is impossible even to drop the something position. But that is just another thought. It is just another thought. Because what happens very naturally in this very moment, that something is dropped away. You need to give yourself a moment in time to pick up the something idea. But you do not even need a moment to be empty of that something. That is why it is so straightforward, so simple. And that is why ultimately truth must prevail, isn't it? Because it is the natural position. So in this flowing back to our naturalness, all these some things are being dropped away. Any position that you take is that blank which you are filling with this position. You're making something out of nothing. I am is consciousness. We often refer to this consciousness as God itself. I was saying yesterday that for what something or which thought will you exchange God for? You see, that is the deal that we got addicted to making. More injurious than smoking. Smoking also very injurious, please. But to exchange God for a mere concept about yourself, to exchange this unlimited being consciousness for a limited notion of name and form, that is the bargain that we make. So coming to Satsang, it's just a reminder that look at who you are. You are not a limited object. You are not a thing. Now, all of this is extremely straightforward. Okay? But the mind has a final trick up its sleeve, which is that what you hear in satsang itself, you start putting in the box of something. So then the I am becomes I am God, but conceptually. I am awareness, but conceptually. And these are the most troublesome something that you can put in the box. It is not the fragrant I am God. It is not the fragrant I am the self. It is the smelly I am God. Which implies that I am something special. I am God versus you are not. Even if it is not done with so much intent, when it is coming conceptually, it always smells that way. So this is what it means. Everything I'm saying is about this. Leaving that box empty, leaving that blank space empty of anything. Whether I'm asking you to stay at my father's feet, whether I'm asking you to surrender, whether I'm asking you to let go, not believe your next thought. Most of satsang is an invitation to just leave that blank empty. Or I'm asking you to look and contemplate whether whatever you're putting into that box really applies to the reality of you. On the basis of the something that you put into that blank, sometimes the prescription for that something changes. The feeling behind the medicine, feeling behind the prescription is always this, to bring you to this notionless existence, as Guruji has said, unassociated presence, unassociated being. Now, this is why we also mostly invite everyone to come to now and speak from what is now. Because mostly what happens is that something that you can put in blank comes from the past or a projection about the future. In this very moment, before even the concept of moment, now before the concept of time, it is all already like this. For many of you, the invitation about something is becoming very, very light. It's like a very, very distant cousin that was once very close friends with you says, come to my party. You have outgrown that. But for some, it might still seem like their most beloved friend is calling you to this party of limitation, party of the ego. No offer from the mind is greater than what you already are. It's like you're the owner of the chocolate factory, uh, but somebody offered you this measly one bite of chocolate, and you've just been chasing that. Actually, this example is not an exaggeration. It is not even close to the reality of this drama. So then what happens is that, so you've just understood now what this spiritual ego is, isn't it? I am that something, but that something now is full of spiritual something. Still not empty of something, but that older something which was materialistic, which was relationship oriented, which was focused on security, all of this is now replaced with spiritual concepts. Still not the truth about you, although to the untrained ear it might sound true. So the feeling that ultimately I am going to get something out of this, the idea, the notion that in the end there will be something for me, is the notion that is dropped. The notion that I will get somewhere ultimately is just another something that we put in the box. But before that notion, right now in your naturalness, you are all that you will ever be. So you are all that you will ever be right now. And this all that will ever be is more than you ever need. This is the meaning of contentment. When we are no longer chasing that something to fill that blank with, and we see that the I am that precedes this blank is is more than the mind can ever fathom, more than anyone could ever need or want. I already am. So then all these spiritual stories will start making more sense. Sitting on the box of treasure with a begging bowl in our hand, waiting for that something to come. That is the blank. We fill it with something, waiting for the final something to come, but not looking what is before that. Blank. That is the invitation here. There really is no energy here for to start from the perspective that you are something and then to try to get something for that which believes itself to be something. I used to say like this earlier where God pretending to be a person, wanting to be God. How to help this one? The truth is much simpler than what the mind can conjure up. That's why Ashtavakra said the mind is complex, let it go. Same thing. So when Guruji says, what are you referring to yourself as? This is the same question. What is the something that you're putting into your box? Leave this blank, leave this box empty of concepts. And taste your existence. This taste of your unlimited existence is beyond description. In fact, bliss or ananda is a small word compared to this taste. Because it doesn't have to have phenomenal after effects. It gives you no calories, empty of notions. This is the invitation that consciousness is making to consciousness using this beautiful excuse called Satsang. So whether we bring out the sword, whether we bring out full sweetness, all that is being said is leave this box empty of anything. Sometimes it's really sticky, something, then some chopping implement is required sometimes. All as part of the play of consciousness. You see, and the master will never leave you if you just picked up all the right spiritual concepts and say, okay, okay, you're done. I give you the certificate, freedom certificate or something. Understand? It's like the surgeon, he started the surgery. He was trying to take out your appendix or something like that. So he took out the appendix but left his forceps or something inside. You see? That is the spiritual ego. So you started with the pain, but now you'll be left with much bigger pain if you don't take out all the instruments that were used for the operation. That's why Bhagwan's metaphor is so beautiful. The thorn which is used to remove other thorns, and then ultimately, even that thorn is thrown away. Because the ego is all around pain, okay? Big time suffering. But the spiritual ego is all around pain, big time suffering, not just for you, but for everyone around you. And here also it is played like that in the past. So this cautionary tale comes from the experience that happened here before I met Guruji. Okay, if you can just consider yourself something, you see, a mere mortal or something like that, then you're feeling suffering when you don't get your desires, when attachments are taken away, these kind of things, then you're suffering. But if you're left with the notion that I am God, but just conceptually, I am something special, then imagine not just you are suffering because internally you're feeling that, oh, I'm feeling bad, my attachments are taken away, but outwardly you're saying, no, no, I'm God, nothing happened to me, you see, these kind of things. And you lose authenticity, you see. And that is painful not just for you, but for your close one, your family, everyone. So spiritual concepts are the instruments we are using for the procedure. Don't confuse them for the truth. The truth is ever present. You do not even need to find it actually. You just had to look what was already there with you, as you. Now, what's your next move? Are you going to now refer back to the past and make something out of yourself again and then pick up that mask? This is the only seeming choice. Even this is not a choice, but the only seeming choice. So, as Bhagavan said, as long as it seems like you can, you have to do something, then do this. Don't get involved with the stream of your thoughts. And then you will see one day that there was no individual you. All of that picking up and dropping also was a part of the play of consciousness itself. So all the but something something is an offer for fill in the blanks. All the I got it is an offer for fill in this blank. I haven't still got it is an offer for fill in the blank. The mind will even say, you haven't got it. The master doesn't know. Even that is an offer for fill in the blank. Anything is that. Openness is to leave this blank blank. Don't even use the best words. Don't use even awareness. There will come a time where naturally the words will get used through the mouth of this instrument in service to the Sadguru. That time will come naturally. Till then you remain empty of anything, even the most glorious thing that you could put in this blank. Don't put it there. The truth is completely apparent here. It's not something that you have to get. In your unassociated presence, there is no confusion about who you are. Just see this much. That prior to the notion, there is complete clarity. Prior to a description about who you are, there is no confusion about who you are. So I'm gifting to all of you this simplicity on behalf of my father, my master. Actually, Sahaja also means this. Sahaja means naturalness, ease, simplicity. So let this Sahaja be my gift to you after my visit to Sahaja. Going again. The feeling is to go every year if possible. Okay, today I promised to look at some questions. My mailbox is quite full also, and there's some requests also. Still alive, your question?
It's alive. Did you translate the meaning?
No. It's about the Aarti. You can tell me later.
Yeah, no, it's not just inquiry. Some of them were good.
Okay, let me look at some of my questions from Facebook. Okay. First question is Shubhra. Shubhra sent this question. She said, Anantaji, this play of consciousness is really a tricky one. No doubt, there is a somewhat clearer recognition of just being I am and free of all notions and conditioning. But this silly word, whenever there is some reaction of not liking anything or being uncomfortable with some situations in this play, the feeling of guilt and regret is much higher now than before this. Than before, this mind starts saying, listening to satsangs won't help. Be a nice person first. You're also a person, if not only a person. I know it's that old conditioning that comes back again and again, but sometimes so stuck in this vicious cycle and can't help. Please help, Anantaji. This play of consciousness is really a tricky one. No doubt, there is a somewhat clearer recognition inside of just being I am and free of all notions and conditioning. Very good. I like this part very much. But okay, this part is where the trouble starts always for everyone. Whenever there is some reaction of not liking anything or being uncomfortable with some situations in this play, the feeling of guilt and regret is much higher now than before. Okay, let's look at this part a little bit closely. Now, there are these sensations, and then there are these sensations which are mixed with thought, and then that becomes guilt or regret, isn't it? Like arrogance, pride, or guilt cannot come unless there is a concept that I should not be that. So let's take an example, maybe something like this, where you feel like you were in a situation, you were not liking it, some anger came. So anger can come very naturally. But how do you make resentment out of that anger? So if anger is coming, suppose I didn't like what Madhu said. So some anger came, suppose. So then how do I make resentment out of it? I think this one is always like this. No? But then it becomes the condition. Anger is just anger. It is coming and going. When we make a condition out of it, when we mix it with a notion of what it should be like, why something is always like this, then that becomes resentment. In the same way, some anger came and maybe expressed. Then the notion can come, oh, you should not have behaved like that. You should have done this. Why didn't you do that? Then that becomes guilt. So, emotion unmixed with concepts will continue to arise and flow, but they will not become a thing. You will not label yourself based on that. You will not restrict yourself based on that. You will not come back to a limited idea just because some emotion is arising. In this space of consciousness, in fact, there will be much more space to allow everything to arise and to dissolve. In your neutrality, everything will be allowed to flow naturally. But when you say, I become more guilty, I start to feel more. What did you say? Guilt and regret. You see? You cannot have guilt or regret. Guilt, remorse, grievances, regret, resentment, specialness, arrogance, pride, all of these are what we call suffering. Many more variations, I'm sure. But all of these are dependent on an idea you have about yourself. It is not just what arose in that situation. If there is an allowing of that, if it is seen that in the movie, this body plays various different roles, and these roles are run and determined by consciousness itself, then you will not pick up limited ideas about yourself, which will say, oh, you should now be a nice person or something like this. Okay, so that's the next part of your question, isn't it? Listening to satsangs won't help you to be a nice person first. Okay. Now, don't try to be a nice person. All right? What is going to happen is that as the notion of personhood is dropped more and more, it is but natural that in your worldly expression, it will be full of love and kindness on its own. It might not always sound like that. It's not that always you will have chocolatey words coming out of your mouth. But behind the words, the sense of peace that you have found, the natural presence of love that is here, will always exude from you. So don't take on this new project of trying to make you a nice person, especially first. You see, it's a very devious trick. All niceness, all kindness, all compassion will come naturally in your expression, but you will not have to become like sheep. So don't buy this story from the mind, which is that you must be a nice person first. The outer play of the person, the outer play of Shubhra will continue. Try it for a few days without conceptual intervention. You'll see that everything continues to run. The world will not stop. Everything will be just fine. I know that it's the old conditioning that comes back again and again, but sometimes so stuck in this vicious cycle and can't help. That's an idea we have satsang for this every day we have. That you get the chance sometimes to see the recordings. That is good. So it is this. The only affliction that everyone seems to suffer from is this very same one. So don't worry about it. That is what satsang is for. And as you're already starting to recognize that it's basically just the same condition repeating itself over and over again with different excuses from the mind, then the dropping is happening naturally. That is the beauty of satsang. The noticing it is the dropping of it. You don't have to take a step. Stay as your unassociated presence. That is why one medicine, whatever the color of the medicine might be, unlike those in Bangalore, you have these quacks who pose as doctors. basically what they're doing is for everything you come to them, they give you an injection. Right? Now, what does the injection have? The injection only has distilled water. Okay, but you know what happens? Okay, a little bit of story. Sometimes, if you'll indulge me in a small story. So, there was a time where I used to run this foundation called the Kushal Foundation, and we used to provide free healthcare services to children in the urban slums. So, the areas like Ijipura. Then we also used to go to. We had a mobile health van which used to go to Anikal, Dodbalapur, these areas outside Bangalore. So what happened is that, and we were obviously doing things properly. So then what happened a few times is some patients would come to us. It's a very beautiful place we had created. Every child would get a banana. They were malnourished, many of them. Banana has a lot of nutrition. Sometimes we would give them this ragi porridge as breakfast. So very nice. But you notice that some kids would come, we would create the medical files for them, everything. But after a while, they would not come. And you would wonder, so what happened? So then they would come and say that, that the medicine your doctor used to give were good. They used to work, but they used to take some time in working. There's another doctor here who just straight gives the injection and it just works. So then we did some investigation over this doctor and we realized that it's a standard procedure. Anybody goes to him, he used to charge 50 rupees and give you this injection. And then my doctor told me that basically all that he's doing is giving the distilled water injection and the placebo effect is working. So we got an injection, strong medicine. So it's really something that's been sorted. She said the other theory, which is of course much worse, I hope that is not true, is that he's giving antibiotics to everyone, no matter what the affliction is. A strong dose of antibiotics going in, which is not so good for the body to get frequently like that. So on the lighter note, I'm like that quack, that doctor. No matter what the affliction might be, I have this one injection for you, which is to empty I am from all notions you have about yourself. So sometimes I will say, leave it to Father. Sometimes I will say, inquire into who you are, but basically coming to your unassociated presence. So Anil posted this question, and I know he knows the answer, and he knows what the answer is going to be. So it's the same answer as always. Okay, let's look at the next Facebook question. So we'll let Shubhra know that I answered her question. Next question is from Rahul. Rahul sent this question to Amaya, and Amaya posted this for me. He says, I sang Hanuman Chalisa about 5 times last night, and I chanted Ram Ram for a while. Body was buzzing, and when I went to sleep, I was suddenly afraid. I felt like I was going crazy. It was scary. I don't know how to explain this. I was pulled into something, and suddenly had to get up and shake myself up. It was something so new and scary. I mean, it has happened before, but not like this. For the first time in years, I went and slept in my parents' room. Sweet. He's a young boy, 20, less than 20 maybe. I told them, but even if he's much older, even if he's 40, it's still sweet. I told them, I am sleeping here for a change. And they were like, well, this is weird. I can understand their reaction. So my son suddenly should come now. I'll sleep with you. You like it though, but you still say this is weird. I was almost afraid of Neem Karoli Baba. He has somehow taken Neem Karoli Baba as his guru through darshan, transmission of photo, and has been in incredible states of love and surrender. drop the mental completely. It's been amazing, but he also considers you his beloved Guru. So, simple answer for this simple question is that no matter what the energetic reactions might come, sometimes these energetic plays happen in response to our extreme devotion. It is natural for some of that to happen. We don't need to create concepts around it, especially I don't want to give any of you any concepts about this, but I know that this is a natural part of our spiritual life. There's nothing to be afraid of in this. The best part about having a guru is that everything is his problem or her problem. So whether it is energetic afflictions, whether it is mental conceptual notions, whether it is anything at all that is phenomenal, it is for my father to deal with. That is the meaning of the invocation. He starts Satsang saying, Muji Ji ki jai, Muji Baba ki jai. You can say like that. What it means is not just a salutary notion. It is actually saying that it is your presence who is running all of this, using this instrument to communicate. So this is the advantage of having a guru. The best part is that having a guru means what devotion, what trust is there inside you for that. To begin with, mostly it starts off with an external form, but you don't even need the guru's consent to surrender to him. You know, the guru saying, no, 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 I'm not your guru, you can still surrender to him. This is the thing, it is a feeling inside your heart is what is important. Whatever you feel devoted to, and don't worry about these external forms, whether it's Neem Karoli Baba or Guruji, all are the same. All representations of the same Sadguru in our heart. As long as the feeling is there that I have a guru, means the feeling is there that my life is his problem now. Whether you say Neem Karoli Baba, whether you say Bhagwan, whether you say Guruji, whether you say Papaji, whether you say Anand Mahima, it really doesn't matter. But folly means to say I have a guru and then to say I have problems. Both cannot be true. So if you have this feeling in your heart for the master, then everything is handed over. Nothing is your problem. Thank you. Then there was a question. I'm sorry if I'm skipping your question. I'm not really used to this answering Facebook questions. So. Okay, there's a question from Shilpa. This one is Shilpa Menon. If any of us are connected on Facebook, we can let her know. Otherwise, I can let her know. So she said, Anantaji, why can't we not? Why can't we not see what we have not seen yet? Why can we not see what we have not seen yet? Today, while questioning this mind, the realization that we only see what we already know came out very strongly. We only see. I am not able to put it into words. I have a feeling about what you're saying. It's like you do not perceive what you have not conceived. You only perceive that which you have conceived. Is that the way that you're saying it? I have a feeling that might be the way. I am not able to put into words even what that moment was. And then, for some time, there was an intense vacuum with occasional, meaningless thoughts flying with intense sense of buzzing and vibration. Try as I might, the eyes wouldn't open, as if they were forced shut. Then they flew open by themselves when I couldn't take the intense vibratory sensation. I'm sorry for such a long pause. It may mean nothing. I may be making it all up too, except that it was intense. The buzzing. That I am scared of not existing anymore, Anantaji. Terribly scared of not being able to feel, touch, see, or hear. Intensely scared of being forgotten or losing this body. I am scared. So the previous answer actually can apply to the previous question that you asked. But this part, let's look at again, where you're saying, I'm scared of not existing anymore. Terribly scared of not being able to feel, touch, see, or hear. Intensely scared of being forgotten or losing this body. Now, as long as you want to exist, now the you I'm referring to yourself as right now is consciousness. As long as you want to exist, you will exist. By the recognition that you are beyond this existence does not lead to an end to existence. Otherwise, no sages would ever speak about the recognition, isn't it? So you're coming to the recognition of what you are. But as long as the urge is there to exist, existence will continue. So don't worry about that. The mind might be planting some fears for you that if you come to this nothingness, then all perception will be gone. When you are done with the play of existence, then all perception, including time and space, everything goes away. There is nothing to fear. But as long as all of this is God's will, the will of consciousness, it is the will of consciousness that it plays, and as long as the will is to play, you will play. There is nothing to fear, nothing is being done to you. Now, there is another way to look at this question. Now, if you're speaking as an individual entity, as a person, you see, then you're already non-existent. So then also the fear is unfounded. The person never really existed at all. It was just a pretense. If I put on a mask, you see, if I put on, there's a movie called The Mask of Zorro. So if I put on the Zorro mask and I pretend to be Zorro, doesn't mean that actually I became Zorro. It might seem more and more real. I might put more and more belief into thoughts about Zorro, but there never really was a Zorro. You see what I'm saying? So don't be scared to lose that which never was. This is the mind trying to keep itself relevant, to keep its anarchy alive. So as consciousness, you are always existent for as long as you like. It is the will of consciousness. For the non-existent person, cannot really bemoan the fact that I will no longer exist. It's like saying the dream character is scared of losing its reality. It was never real to start with. So don't worry about all of these things. Sadguru's presence, the Sadguru's grace is with you. The holiness, the blessings of the Sadguru are much greater than any fear. Just going to look at one last one. Okay, this one is from Shweta, but it's not broadcastable. So I'll take it up with Shweta separately. She's a friend of yours also, no? Shweta? She's Ramya's friend. Yeah, but you know of her. You know a song before we close Satsang? You can tell? Yeah. The audio will come from this, so we'll move this closer.
Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vandeham Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vande 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 Muralidhara Krishna Tulsidhara Muralidhara Krishna Tulsidhara Manamohana Ananda Vandana Manamohana Ananda Vandana Manamohana Ananda Vandana Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vandeham Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vande Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vandeham Krishnam Vande Paramanandam Vande Manamohana Krishna Tulsidhara Manamohana Krishna Tulsidhara मनमोहना आनन्दवन्दना मनमोहना आनन्दवन्दना कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्दे कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्दे कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्दे
This part is also this one. Giridhari,
हे गिरिधारी वनमाली यमुना तीर बिहारी हरि यमुना तीर बिहारी हरि यमुना तीर बिहारी यमुना तीर बिहारी यमुना तीर बिहारी यमुना तीर बिहारी कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्दे कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्दे कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं वन्देऽहं कृष्णं वन्दे परमानन्दं
All of you have to help me sing this one. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala 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 Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala
Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala.
Krishna Govinda
Govinda
Gopala.
Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala.
Krishna Govinda Govinda
Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala.
Krishna Govinda Govinda
Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala. Jaya Murali Manohar Nandalala.
Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. What is it?
I don't know how it starts, but I remember this.
Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala Govinda Govinda, Gopala Gopala, Govinda Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Mukunda Krishna Govinda, Murali Krishna Gopala, Mukunda Krishna Govinda, Murali Krishna Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala.
It's not complete. No.
Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Mukunda Krishna Govinda, Murali Krishna Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala, Nanda Nanda, Ananda Nanda Nanda, Govinda Nanda Nanda, Gopala, Gopala. Shweta is here. Good. I've received some comments, so I'll just look at those before we go today. She's talking about a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, and being anxious. What does frustration actually mean? If I spoke to somebody I met on the road and they said, "Oh, nice to meet you, but actually I'm very frustrated right now." Then you would say, "Why?" They would say, "I was trying to get to Delhi, but my flight got cancelled, or my train is, I missed my train." Something. Is it? There must be somewhere that you're trying to get to, and then seeming obstacles can come. Now, the beauty of satsang is that the destination is taken away. It is seen that what already is enough, but not just a worldly idea of what already is. We're truly looking at what is, what we are right now. What is the nature of this existence? Now, you exist in this moment, and if you don't attach that existence to any concept of where you have to go, or who you have to be, what spiritual experiences you're having, even what paths you have to follow or not, none of these you have to pick up to see the truth about who you are. All confusion ultimately is about a mistaken identity. Okay? So, as long as we consider ourselves to be something that we are not, confusion is our alarm clock. Suffering is our alarm clock. So, like I was saying earlier, the advantage of having a master, the advantage of having a guru is to say, even this is not mine to deal with. Because in trying to deal with it yourself, in our usual ways, we end up getting more and more frustrated and anxious. There are two types of passengers. One type of passenger gets on the train and they know that they're getting to the destination, the train is getting there. So there's nothing to worry about. All is taken care of. The other type of passengers are like my children. These children are every 2 minutes. The typical children who are saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Where are we now? Are we crossing the right road? Are we lost?" You see? So, so this is the play of this spiritual journey also. If you get on the Guru train, then just trust Guru power. Then show me how you can be frustrated actually. If you don't have an idea of where you're going or where you have to be, then nothing. Now the best part is what? That you have never left the destination. This which you were discovering about yourself, stay with that "I don't know" place where we started. Don't know who you are. And in that not knowing, don't allow the mind to come in and label that as frustration, that I have to know. Because this is the opposite type of school. The school that we are used to is the school where we are meant to know more and more things. We go to classes, we learn more and more. And those who don't learn it, those get frustrated. And those who are learning it seem to be achieving something. This is the opposite school. Here, the more you're not knowing, the better you're doing. Okay, this needs some trust because this is not the easy pill to swallow because we're used to the other type of school, isn't it? Now, stay in your not knowing. You still are. You exist. Even if you don't know anything at all, if you were a newborn baby right now, your existence is here. What kind of knowing is this? It is not the usual knowing. It is not a conceptual knowing. It is not even an experiential knowing. How do you know that you are here? If no thought was coming, would you not know this? This knowingness, this awareness is what is being pointed to. Thank you. Thank you. Amaya said such beautiful harmonies. Ananda Govinda. You were remembering your singing the other day also. You were reminding someone whether they heard your rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's one of the most beautiful. गुरु श्री मुजी जी की जय।
जय। सदगुरु श्री अनंता जी की जय।